So thank you all for coming. This is a real treat for me. Most of you I know here and have been instrumental in helping me over the years achieve what I have. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a short history about Running America, Running on Empty. We won't be too long here, but just so you know a little bit of the background, people always seem to have questions about that sort of thing. I'm just a farm boy. I grew up right here in Colorado, out at Kersey, Colorado, which is just, I guess, east of Greeley, about 5 miles. So I grew up on a farm, and I think a lot of just my work ethic came from that farm, riding a sled behind a hay baler and things like that. It just gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of accomplishment, and of course my parents always encouraged me. And my mother in particular, she taught me how to dream. She said, you can do anything you want, just dream big. And so that's one of my mottos, dream big and do it. So what I like to say to people is that the only limitations are in your mind. That's what puts a person on the top of mountains and moves mountains. The greatest compliment I have is that when a 50 or 60-year-old woman or man who doesn't even run reads the book, and what they tell me is, you know, this isn't a book about running at all. It is a book about running, but primarily the other 2/3 of it is about those relationships, the people who supported me, the love that I have for my wife and that she has for me. So it's a multi-layered book, and it talks about much, much more than what meets the eye. There were people that would drift in and out of the run, and from the surface you would think that there was not too much going on there, but there was a deep connection that was being made, particularly with my children also. And the book also talks about some of the times I wasn't there. I tried to be brutally honest, and I was not always successful at doing the things as a father should do. And so I've got a lot of ground to make up, and certainly I think that I've reconnected with some of my children. All of my children, excuse me. So the stats, you saw that, 117 marathons in 52.5 days. And you know, it's not too bad for a AARP card guy. It's one thing to run across the United States. It's another thing to write a book, and it's almost like a mini ultra. So what we did after this, so we could kind of keep things fresh in our mind, we didn't really have a lot of time to journal or do anything like that. So what I did with my wife, Heather, is we redrove the entire course. We drive basically 120 to, say, 130 miles per day. So it took us 25 days, and we would journal, and I think we had something like maybe 300 to 400 pages of journaling. Of course, Heather had much more precise and wonderful journaling than I did. Mine was just more of sort of an emotional thing. But it was an interesting phenomena when we would drive along and all of a sudden she'd burst out in tears. Or take, for instance, when we hit that 2,000-mile mark, I could literally smell cigar smoke. It just brought back those memories, and it would rush into my mind. And so hence the book, where it came through, you know, very strong, the memories of it, and it's very vivid, and I think I put it down on paper. We did the run for United Way to draw attention to kids, to get them out to exercise, to combat obesity. And then last but not least, we raised money for the religious teachers, Filippini, probably $800,000 or $900,000 to date. And they help impoverished women and children throughout the country. And some of the proceeds, a portion of the proceeds of the book go to them. They do wonderful work, and they just make the world a better place. So, the final thoughts. You can do way more than you think you can. That's what I set out to help people realize. To diversify, don't feel like you have to be stuck in a rut just doing one thing. Go out there and try something new. And the last thing you may guess, since I'm almost 60 years old now, is that you just never stop doing it. You just keep doing it. Okay, Who wants to guess how many pair of shoes? This was something that we put up on Facebook. Oh, see? Now that was quick. 32. That's correct. Now the reason that was, about every 100 to 150 miles, I changed shoes out. And the reason is because I'd break them down more than anything. I had to have a good, decent pair of shoes on my feet so I wouldn't wind up with injuries, which happened anyhow. But that's the way it was.
Looks like you had to persevere through a lot of injuries during the run. Did you ever have to do that at any of your other events? Like in your adventure racing or your summiting of the 7 summits? Did you have to persevere through as many injuries?
Absolutely, and I think the difference is the adventure racing is a team effort, and that always helps if you've got somebody that is there with you that can support you. Plus, I kind of feel real good if there's somebody else there suffering with me. It's like, yeah, this is great. So that's the difference between that, and I love that. As far as the ultra running, it's more of a lone type sport as well as sometimes mountaineering. The mountaineering, definitely. The biggest suffering part of that is just being cooped up in a tent, feeling like you're in like a caged animal. So, you know, that's what's tough about that. The hardest thing for you was what?
Yeah, the hardest part of especially running America was just to watch someone that you love that much suffer that much. So how we get through it, I don't know. Everybody else that's married out there, I mean, how do you get through it? You get through it with love and patience and sometimes anger and tears. I know when we went out and redrove the route, during the run I kept a lot of things to myself, didn't tell him what was going on with other issues and other people and even with myself. And so we'd get to certain points when we were re-driving the run and I'd just cry for a day. And then there were other times when I would just yell at him for 2 hours straight. And he's like, oh my God, what's the matter with you? And I said, I didn't get to yell during the run and I'm gonna yell at you now and you're just gonna have to put up with it.
I love it. Marshall, with regards to some of your shorter runs, like Badwater, how would you rank, you know, the competitiveness and the suffering?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. With the Badwater event, when I was very fit and running it quickly and winning it, it was easier than now I go out and do it and I'm out there twice as long and am slower. I would rank that as a difficult race because of the heat. Hands down, running America was the toughest. What I like to tell people is one day of running America, or excuse me, let me back up just a little bit. One day on Everest, summit day on Everest, was like every day running America. Exponentially, it was so much harder. We all have highs and lows and joyous occasions and difficulties, and it's just a question of working through them and accepting and being kind to yourself too, I think is important. What's next for me? Heather is going to have to plug her ears. I've been known to not communicate well with her. The way I usually break news to her is I'll be talking to a buddy like Mark Macy, and it's like, she'll be sitting over there, and it's like, so Mace, we're going to do like the Gobi Desert race, right? And then all of a sudden I see this pained look. What? Yeah, what are you doing? So I've got planned a circumnavigation of Death Valley, which is about 800 miles around. It hasn't been done on a lightly supported basis. I will be burying caches, and I'm going to be doing it with a friend also. What else is planned? Heather, what else is planned?
You're going to Nepal to do a Racing the Planet race, and he's planning an Alps trilogy, climbing Mount Blanc, the Matterhorn, and Eiger, and Robin's going with you.
Marshall Ulrich, this has been a fabulous evening. Running America, running on empty. You are full speed ahead. We love you. Thank you very much. Give him a hand.
Thank you very much.